Welcome back to Cultural Geography. We are now going to talk about just one country today, the country of Iraq, or Iraq, depending on how you prefer to pronounce it. I kind of use it both ways. Either way, there's the flag located down there on the screen. Some information about the country of Iraq. The Tigris and Euphrates Rivers are the most important rivers in the entire Middle East. Remember, students, these two rivers are two of your land features that you need to know for the test. The rivers begin in the mountains of Turkey. They provide needed water as well as a way of transporting goods up and down Iraq. Located between the two rivers is Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia literally means land between the rivers, and this is the most famous Mesopotamia in all the world. The two rivers flow nearly parallel for 500 miles and were home to some of the world's earliest civilizations, the Sumerians, the Assyrians, and the Babylonians, to name a few. There's another individual that we need to associate with this country, just like how we talked about Ibn Saud for Saudi Arabia. We need to make sure that we know this individual applied to Iraq, Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein became dictator of Iraq in 1979. His cruelty and heavy-handed approach kept him in power during that time. Eventually, Hussein was overthrown when the U.S., Britain, and other allies invaded in 2003. Since then, Iraq has attempted to establish a democracy. Although the outcome is still uncertain, violence in Iraq has declined some, and the future is beginning to look brighter for the country and its people. A question might be asked, is Iraq better off today after the U.S. invaded than before? Actually, that opinion is up to you. I think it is, but, people have different opinions on this topic. Another question, was the U.S. justified in invading Iraq? Well, did they have the weapons of mass destruction that they claimed they had? Apparently not. Is it America's responsibility to promote a better government in other countries? Maybe, maybe not. The point being, though, is it happened, and now Iraq is trying to emerge as a democracy. Another question that might be asked is, what steps should the U.S. be taking to reduce our dependence on such a volatile region for our energy resources? Some think the U.S. should try to find other places to drill for oil. Some people view that maybe alternative sources of energy would be a better option as well. Honestly, my opinion is we should do some of both. We should find alternative sources of fuel, and we should be drilling. We need to use every means necessary within reason that will allow us to become more energy efficient rather than less efficient. Iraq shares a border with the countries of Turkey, Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Iran. Iraq is about twice the size as the state of Idaho. 13% of the land is arable and is divided into 4 general geographic zones, which we'll talk about momentarily. On page 427, there's a pink box that I want you to read called Muslim Festivals. Please read that box to yourself and then press play again after you've finished. Letter A, Desert Zone. Desert Zone. Iraq has this area. It's located to the west and southern parts of the country. So if you're following my mouse here, the western and southern parts of this country are the desert regions. The Syrian desert is located in the western part. The Arabian desert is to the south. These deserts were difficult spots when fighting in Iraq because terrorists could easily cross into Iraq from Syria because of the sprawling desert border. Letter B, Northern Highlands. Located in, of course, the northern part of Iraq, in this area here. It consists of mountain ranges as high as 13,000 feet above sea level in northern Iraq. Most of the people who live here are primarily the Kurdish people. The Kurdish people are a minority group who live in Turkey, Iraq, and Iran, and they do not have a country of their own. They were persecuted in Iraq under Saddam Hussein, who used chemical and biological weapons to wipe out their villages. They became allies of the U.S. during the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. Letter C, rolling uplands. The rolling uplands are located primarily in the central part of Iraq. It includes what has often been, or what was at one time referred to, the Sunni Triangle. During the 2003 Iraq War, the Sunni Triangle was the most dangerous area in Iraq. Sunni Muslims were Hussein's supporters, and many American soldiers were killed there trying to subdue the Iraqi insurgents. Tikrit was Hussein's hometown, which was a part of this. Baghdad, Fallujah, and Ar-Ramadi were also major cities inside this triangle. If you turn in your books, please, to page 428, please read the colorful box about the city of Baghdad, Baghdad being the capital of Iraq. Once you have finished reading, please press play and resume the lesson. And lastly today, the alluvial plain. The alluvial plain is located between Baghdad and Basra in southeastern Iraq. 3/4 of all Iraqis live in this region. So when we're talking about here, we're talking about this southern easternmost area of Iraq. 3/4 of all Iraqis live in this region. No better time to mention this than now. Islam, understandably, is not one religion. I should say it this way. Not everyone believes the same thing in Islam. The two largest branches of Islam are the Sunni and the Shia Muslims. While all Muslims hold to the 5 pillars, not all agree on everything else. 80% of all worldwide Muslims are Sunnis. The Shia are in the minority, but they hold a majority in Iraq, Iran, Bahrain, and Azerbaijan. Hussein was Sunni. This also explains why most Iraqis hated Hussein and why Hussein hated the country of Iran enough to fight a war with it back in the 1980s. The Shatt al-Arab. The Shatt al-Arab. This was a land where the Euphrates and Tigris River join before emptying out into the Persian Gulf. Most of the land was marshy. Many ancient civilizations were located in this region. On page 429, I want you to read, please, the blue and pink boxes concerning earth matters, as well as the Behistun rock. Please read those 2 boxes to yourself. Once you have finished reading, recognize you guys will have a quiz over pages 420 to 429. Make sure you finish that before turning in your packets when you do so. Otherwise, have a good rest of the day. Be good, do good.